After guiding hundreds of families to and through retirement, the biggest regret I see isn't running out of money. It's the opposite. These are the 5 regrets I hear most often from retirees, and 4 of them have nothing to do with your portfolio. We'll count them down, and the number 1 regret, the one I hear more than any other, is the one almost nobody plans for. So I'm saving it for last. But the regrets I see aren't about the size of the balance. They're about the plan around the balance, how you actually use the money, the time, and the health you work so hard to earn. Because the people with the fewest regrets, they aren't the richest ones. They're the ones who planned for the whole life, not just the portfolio. So let's count down the 5 regrets starting at number 5. All right, number 5, retiring to nothing. And let me be clear, I'm not saying work longer. The opposite. In my experience, the people who go earliest and don't look back are usually the ones who already had somewhere to go. Here's how it happens. The paycheck stops on a Friday, and by Monday, a huge part of who you are can just vanish. The title's gone, the daily structure's gone, the people you saw every day for 30 years, gone. And money doesn't fix that. In a 2020 Edward Jones and Age Wave study of 9,000 people, about 31% of new retirees said they struggled to find a sense of purpose. And around 54% wish they'd done a better job planning the non-financial side of retirement. Another survey from the 2024 Mass Mutual Retirement Happiness Study found roughly a third of retirees weren't actually happier after retiring. And before they retired, only about 7% had made any effort to build friendships outside of work. Let me give you a picture, a composite, a hypothetical just for illustration. Someone who spent 35 years defined by a career, retires with plenty saved, 6 months left, and feels adrift. No calendar, fewer calls, and that old line at home, I married you for life, not for lunch every day. There's a Harvard study, perhaps you've heard of it, that's been running since 1938, 80 years. And the single strongest predictor of a long, healthy, happy life isn't money. It's the quality of your relationships. We made an entire video on this, actually. It's called Retire Happy, the 3 things that matter more than your portfolio, and I'll be sure to link to it. Build that life first, by the way, and it becomes the reason you get to go sooner. That's the regret money can't fix. The next one, money can fix, and that's number 4. Number 4, claiming Social Security or retiring too early without a strategy. Now, I want to be careful here. Regret isn't claiming early. That might be the right call for some folks. In fact, one peer-reviewed study found only about 19% of people regret claiming Social Security early. That means roughly 80% did not. So this isn't early as a mistake, not even close. The regret is claiming or retiring without a plan that fits your health, your spouse, and your portfolio, because timing is a decision, not a default. Though here's the uncomfortable part, not everyone gets to make it. Allianz Life found 42% of retirees retired earlier than planned, often not by choice. Only 5% retired later. Sometimes health decides. Sometimes an employer decides, which is exactly why the plan has to exist before you think you need it. Now, there are great reasons to claim early. Maybe your health or your family history points to a shorter time horizon. Or maybe you're the lower earner, so you claim early while the higher earner delays, because that higher benefit becomes the survivor benefit later. Here's the one number to hold on to. If your full retirement age is 67, claiming at 62 permanently reduces your benefit by about 30%. Waiting to 70 adds about 24%. That's a real permanent difference. It deserves a strategy and not just a shrug. But let's go ahead, keep going, because number 3 is the one I wish more people, quite frankly, took seriously. Number 3, and this is the one that isn't about money at all. It might be the most important one on this whole list. Neglecting your health until until it quietly sets the ceiling on everything else. Here's the hard truth. You can nail the money, every account, every strategy just perfect, and still lose the one thing all that money was for, the health to actually enjoy it. In one survey last year, retirees were asked their single greatest regret. The top answer wasn't money. It was taking better care of my physical health earlier in life. About 42% named it above financial regret. And it compounds. About 70% of people turning 65 will need some form of long-term care. And the cost? A private room in a nursing home ran about $127,000 a year in 2024. That's 1 year, just one person. So let me paint another picture for you. Again, a composite, just a hypothetical for illustration. A couple who kept deferring the active years until things settled down. Then a bad knee, a heart scare, a diagnosis. One by one, those options came off the table. The plan was fine, the window just closed. And here's what makes this one sting. You can rebuild a portfolio. You can earn money back, save it back, invest your way back, but you can't buy back a decade of good knees or the energy you had at 60. That's the part no strategy fixes. And look, if you want the whole retirement picture, not just the money, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We publish a video like this every week. Now, before we get to the number one regret, there's a tax regret that quietly hits the most, who saved the most, and that's number two. Number two is the tax regret. It hits the diligent savers hardest, which feels deeply unfair, and it kind of is. To start with the part nobody sees coming, one of you will likely outlive the other if you're married, and the year after that, the survivor files single instead of jointly. Taxed a lot harder on very similar outcome. That's what we call the widow's penalty. Meanwhile, the forced withdrawals, what we call required minimum distributions or RMDs, don't shrink when your household does. Same balance you both built, same required withdrawal, one tax return. And RMDs can just push you into a higher bracket and trigger Medicare surcharges on top of that. By the way, if you're married, this is the video to go ahead and forward to your spouse or significant other. So when you get ahead of it, basically there's a window, usually 5 to 12 years between retiring and when the government forces that money out. Those are your gap years, and your taxable income is often at its lowest right there. Now, when do RMDs start? If you were born between 1951 and 1959, they start at 73 for you. But if you were born in 1960 or later, they start at 75. So for a lot of you watching, it's 75, which actually gives you a longer gap years window to work with, which is a good thing. So here's why the savers get hit hardest. Picture a $2 million pre-tax IRA. That's a hypothetical again for illustration. Left alone, that balance can force six-figure required withdrawals later in retirement, whether you need the money or not. That's the tax bomb. The good news, the gap years are your chance to diffuse it before the window closes. And here's your next step, because all 5 of these regrets come down to one question. Did you plan for it before the window closed? To help, be sure to grab the same checklists we use with clients that hit on everything from income and taxes to the non-financial side. Start with the one called What Issues Should I Consider Before I Retire? It's really the master readiness checklist, and it helps touch a lot of the regrets we talk about in this video. So just type checklist in the comments and I'll send you a link. Which brings us to the number one regret I hear more than any other, and the one almost nobody sees coming. Remember what I said at the very start of the video, that the biggest regret isn't running out of money. This is it instead. It's the opposite of running out. It's reaching the end with most of your money still sitting there while the time, the health, and the people you were saving it for quietly expired. You know your balance to the dollar. Almost nobody knows what what's in their time account. The data here is genuinely startling. EBRI found that roughly 1 in 3 retirees still had 100% or more of their starting assets nearly 2 decades into retirement. They didn't spend it down. Some of them had more. Now, some of that group had old style pensions covering their bills, so fair enough. But the next number is about people living off their own savings, not a pension. And a 2025 financial planning review study found that the typical 65-year-old couple spends only about 2% of their savings a year. That's roughly half of the traditional 4% guideline people talk about. Just half. So why? Well, it's usually not greed, it's fear. Fear of an unexpected cost, a feeling that spending down is just irresponsible. And honestly, it just feels just safer to watch the balance stay high. Now, I'm not telling you to just go spend it all. That's not it. This is permission to spend with guardrails, a real plan, a funded long-term care strategy, and a cash reserve. Underspending can be perfectly rational, but so can giving yourself permission to live. But the spend it on what? Here's the line I draw. Money that buys you life, time, health, comfort, experiences, the people you love, versus money that buys you an obligation, a recurring bill, something illiquid, something you have to maintain. Run it through these 3 questions. Number 1 is going to be, can I stop paying for it when I stop using it? What's it worth in 3 years? Does it buy me time or actually cost me? A month in Italy passes all 3. So does a housekeeper, or the knee surgery you keep putting off, or flying the grandkids to you. A new $80,000 vehicle really passes none of them. By the way, in case you're wondering, our firm gets paid a percentage of what we manage on behalf of our clients. So telling you to spend it down actually works against me. I'm telling you anyway. Because here's the thing I said I'd come back to. The money is very likely to still be there. Not guaranteed, but the time and the health, those won't. That's guaranteed. So those are the 5 regrets, and let me tie these 5 together because they really come down to 3 threads for you. 1, plan the life, not just the portfolio. That's purpose and that's health. 2, timing is a decision. Social Security and that gap year's tax window, they both reward a real strategy instead of a default so you can actually enjoy life more. And then 3, the big one, give yourself permission to actually use what you built with guardrails. That's what we do at Covenant. Retirement, income, taxes, investments, we plan them as one because that's how they actually work in real life. Before you go, which of these 5 resonated with you most? Drop the number in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And look, you spent decades making sure you wouldn't run out of money. Spend a little of that same energy making sure you don't run out of time. Your portfolio balance will likely still be there. The trips, the people, the health, those have a real clock. I'll see you on the next video.